BBC Sounds. Music, radio, podcasts.
Hello and welcome to the Scottish Football Podcast, your indispensable guide to everything you need to know about the national game. It's Thursday the 8th of August. I'm Jane Lewis and here's what's coming up.
Saved on the left. And Yakiviti absolutely rubber stamps St Mirren's progression.
We get the inside track from Norway as St Mirren and Kilmarnock prepare for crucial passage with Tromso and Brann. Also,
Dom Thomas trying to thread early on. Whoa, it is first class from Dom Thomas. What a way to open your account for the championship season.
as ever on a Thursday, we'll look ahead to the championship weekend and can Livingston bounce back after relegation last season.
The Scottish Football Podcast from BBC Sport Scotland.
Well, delighted to say that David Weatherston, man of many former Scottish clubs, including Queen's Park, St Johnstone, Falkirk and Queen of the South, just to name a few, David, but you're now based in Norway. You're joining us to give us the lowdown on St Mirren and Kilmarnock's opposition this evening in Europe. And Ryan McGowan is here as well, Livingston's Australian international defender. Are you both well? Looking forward to big games on a European stage tonight?
Yeah, looking forward to it. But, two exciting games, and looking forward to watching them.
Ryan, you as well? You up for it?
Yeah, I think it would be good. It's obviously super important for Scottish football, but that those two not only get a result tonight, but progress through to the groups. And fingers crossed that they can both get some good results and get the coefficient up to where it should be. So yeah, sorry, David. I'm hoping that the two Scottish teams go through.
David, obviously you're now based in Norway. Just for people that don't know, just give us a little bit of background about yourself. What took you over there? Because you did play a little bit in Norway too, didn't you?
Yeah, no, my wife is the main reason I'm over here. My wife is from here. Met her in Edinburgh, and then after a few years there, decided to move to Norway and start a new life out here. So yeah, I've been out here for eight years and been really getting into the football out here. Really enjoy it. I think it's something that's probably as close to Scottish football as you'll get in any other country in the world. And I always enjoy it when a Scottish team comes to Norway. I've been to Lerkendal a few times to watch Rosenborg against Hearts and Celtic. So unfortunately, Tromso and Brann are miles, and Bergen are really far away, so I'm not going to make it. But looking forward to watching it in telly.
Well, listen, lots to discuss with David and Ryan, but before all that, let's quickly run through the latest Scottish football headlines. Former Premier League official John Moss has been appointed the Scottish Football Association's first VAR manager. The FFA's new head of refereeing, Willie Collum, had made the new role a priority upon taking over from Crawford Allen. Collum said, "I'm confident that John's appointment will help us on our journey towards making VAR more efficient." Well, Jane Ross insists that Rangers' title agony will fuel their bid for a domestic treble in the new campaign. Joe Potter's side lifted the SWPL Cup and the Scottish Cup last term, but missed out on the league title on goal difference to Celtic, despite leading the way for much of the campaign. A new Celtic goalkeeper, Casper Schmeichel, has revealed that his golf-mad dad, Peter, is excited about his son's appointment at the Parkhead Club. "My dad is buzzing," he said. He's spoken a lot about the move. He sees a lot of trips to watch games and have some golf days.
The Scottish Football Podcast.
Well, let's start in Norway, shall we? We'll carry on talking about tonight's Europa Conference League qualifiers. Kilmarnock take on Tromso at Rugby Park, while St Mirren are at home to Brann. And as I say, David is very, very well placed to fill us in on the visiting teams. David, let's start with Tromso then. What kind of opposition will they be for Kilmarnock?
It's going to be a tough game for Kilmarnock, but definitely an easier game than St Mirren have. I think Tromso have struggled quite a lot this year. They had a change of manager in the winter. A real surprise that they managed to finish so far at the league last year. Gaute Helstrup, the manager, unfortunately left to join rivals Bodø/Glimt as the assistant, and since then they've struggled to really get going this year. I'd say signs of life in the last kind of 2 months. Quite a young team. with sort of dots of experience around it, but they'll try and pass the ball through the lines. They've got some really exciting, talented young players. Napoleon Romsos and Jakob Hertog spring to mind. Just some really talented players that they always seem to produce up in Tromso. But I think it's a really even game. I've watched Kelly a couple of times this year, and I just think there's not a lot between the two sides. I think it'll be quite a low scoring game. I don't think there's a lot of goals in Tromso. They tend to keep things tight, back five, and yeah, I think it's going to be quite a low scoring tie over the two legs.
The league obviously is already well underway in Norway. I think both teams have played 18 matches already this season. How much of an advantage will that be? Well, obviously for both teams.
Yeah, it's obviously something that's talked about a lot in Scotland. Summer football, whether we should bring it in Scotland and try and make things easier for teams in Europe. But I think it's something that's both worked for and against Norway. Recently, teams Molde and Bodø/Glimt have both qualified for the latter stages, and they've had to wait kind of 3-4 months for a game of football, and it's really affected them in February, March time. So I think it works both ways. At this time of the year, it probably is a good thing. But with Tromso especially, they do have quite a small squad. They've been playing kind of the same 11, 12 players for pretty much the whole season. So I'm not sure if that's as big an advantage for them. I think coming into this, they're actually looking a little bit tired. They've just not had any squad depth at all, and I think I can pretty much name guaranteed 10 of the starters for tonight's games, and probably 11 if I was pushed.
So if they're already looking a bit tired, Ryan's presumably that's something that Kilmarnock could take advantage of. Go at them straight away. Would that be the message from Derek McInnes if that's what he's thinking about the opposition?
Yeah, I think so. Especially when you're at home as well. It's been a long time since they have European ties at Rugby Park. So I have no doubts that it'll be packed out, and they'll be wanting to take a lead over to Norway. It's super important, especially in the first leg at home, that you score goals and that you give yourself and your fans something to hold on to for that away leg. So, they had that disappointment of last week, but McInnes is a pretty shrewd manager, so he'll make sure that the boys are up for it, and he'll know that a fast start against possibly a leggy team on Astra at Rugby Park, they could be in for a good night, and fingers crossed, like I said, for Scottish football, that they can get that victory and then hold on to it over in Norway.
And these are the kind of games, Ryan, that you want to be playing in. You want to be playing in Europe. You want to progress further, don't you? The Kilmarnock captain, Kyle Frizzell, has said that his teammates need to believe in themselves, need to have no regrets. They want to try and progress, don't they?
Yeah, exactly. They did really well last season to be involved in games like this and to be playing on this type of stage. And, I have no doubts if they can make it into the group stages, the amount of money that comes in from that, the added money of tonight's game and next week's game, that all goes into, players' bonuses, I guess. It goes into the club structure. It makes everything around the club better. So, the players understand the importance of the game, not only to them, to showcase what they can do on a European stage, but also for the club and what it can do, moving forward if they do progress into the group stages.
Right, David, give us a lowdown on Brann then. What are St Mirren in for this evening?
Yeah, definitely a much tougher opposition. Brann have shown in the last 2 years that they're pretty much the second best team in Norway, behind Bodø/Glimt. Really exciting football, super offensive, high press, quick transitions. They've got a lot of talented players. Bordfine plays up front, Norwegian international. Felix Hornmere in midfield, super talented midfielder. That's definitely one that's got a big future. I just think it's a completely different game to what Kilmarnock have. I think Brann are much more suited to European football, the style they play. I think they've shown they beat Go Ahead Eagles from the Netherlands last week, which was quite an even game, but they definitely deserved to win the home leg, which was enough for them. and that was off the back of a pretty unlucky penalty defeat to AZ Alkmaar in the playoffs last year. So Brann coming in with a little bit of experience in the last 2 years in Europe. They won the cup last year as well, so definitely a tougher opposition for St Mirren, and something that, St Mirren. I think St Mirren are definitely going to have to take a lead from Paisley tonight if they want to win in Bergen next week.
Well, from what you know of Brann, their style of play, their key players, how will St Mirren try to go about that this evening? How will they have to face up to Brann? What tactics will they have to employ?
Yeah, and I mean, I'd imagine St Mirren will probably defend in numbers and look to hit them on the counter attack. I think it's something St Mirren have done pretty well under Stephen Robinson. I don't think there'll be anything. I don't think they'll have too much possession. I think Brann will dominate possession. It's not out of the question that St Mirren can beat Brann. I don't think they're absolutely not unbeatable. They've not been in great form in the league recently. They're still sitting second, but not been in great form. I thought St Mirren obviously played really well at the weekend, especially in the second half against Hibs. And I think quick counter-attacking football is probably the way for them to get at Brann tonight.
It was a bit of a party atmosphere in Paisley last time, wasn't it, for their European tie? Ryan, will be expecting more of the same. And St Mirren, they seem to be in a really, really good place going into this tie.
Yeah, I think the fans will be loving it. I think most of those fans probably wouldn't have been sober for the last couple of weeks. Gone from, European win, gone into the weekend, beaten Hibs 3-0 quite comfortably. They'd have been out again. They'd be out again last night leading up to this game. So, it's a great time to be a St Mirren fan, and I hope that they're all enjoying it because, like I said, similar to Kilmarnock, they worked so hard last season to get themselves into this position to be going for these games. And again, similar to Kilmarnock, they'll know that they'll have to perform tonight to give themselves an opportunity of progressing through the tie, and I think this is their best opportunity. If you're a St Mirren fan, they won their sort of first European game in so many years. I'm not sure exactly how many it is. They go and beat Hibs comfortably at home 3-0. Those players will be, can't wait for the game tonight. And David said that the other teams slightly lack in form. They will be experienced enough to have, playing against AZ Alkmaar is a sort of big atmosphere and a huge club. So it will be a dangerous game for St Mirren, but fingers crossed that they can keep themselves in the tie and maybe sneak a win and take it over there and see how they get on next week.
Yeah, nearly 40 years since St Mirren last played in Europe, so they'll want to try and extend their stay for as long as they can. David, just before we let you go, because I know you have to shoot off, what are your predictions for this evening?
I think Kilmarnock Tromso is going to be a low scoring affair. I think it could be a 1-0 or a 0-0. I'll say I think it might be a 0-0 in Kilmarnock tonight. I think it's going to be a pretty dull game, which is exactly what Tromso will want. In Brann, I think Brann, they played really well at the weekend. It's probably their best performance of the season. I can just see them having a little bit too much for St Mirren, maybe a 2-1 to take back to Bergen. And it's going to be sold out in Bergen next week, so 17,500 at Brann Stadium next week as well will be a really good night for St Mirren fans as well to continue their European journey.
And Ryan, of course, you made the switch from St Johnstone in the summer. How is life, first of all, at Livingston?
Yeah, it's been fantastic. I've really enjoyed it. It's a wonderful club, really good setup and infrastructure with it. I've really enjoyed the switch and enjoying life, and fingers crossed that can continue tomorrow night.
Of course, only one game in, but what are your first impressions of the Scottish Championship? Everyone raves about the league, don't they?
Yeah, I think especially this year, there's probably not many leagues in the world where there's 5 clubs that all, or even probably more, that truly believe that they can win the league, which I think is happening in the Championship this season. I don't think there's a lot between any of the teams this year, which should make for a pretty exciting football. And fingers crossed at the end of the season, it's us that are at the top.
It's Queen's Park for you this Friday night. Queen's Park narrowly losing out to Falkirk last weekend in the season opener. What kind of game are you expecting against them?
Probably similar to, I'll be saying this constantly for the next year. I think it'll be a really tight game. There's not too much between the teams. I watched the game last week, and I thought that they did really well against a Falkirk side who's went undefeated last year. So as much as they sort of come up to the league, I think that they can bring, that they'll be looking to go straight back up again, I think, knowing John McGlynn. So, Falkirk will be a tricky place to go this season. So I thought they performed well. Obviously, they've got Callum Davidson, who I've worked with before, and I know what a good manager he is in terms of how setting up teams and making sure that they can kind of stop what we're good at Livingston. So, I think it'll be a little bit of a sort of cagey affair, but one that we're looking forward to, and one that, if we're wanting to win the league, we need to go there and put on good performances.
Yeah, you play on Friday night. So too do Ayr United against Airdrie. That game live on Sports Scene on BBC Scotland. Two teams that have started this season well, and probably two teams that will really, really fancy their chances to being in the mix come the end of the season. Yeah, you could probably say that for the first couple of weeks about everyone. We're looking to beat Queen's Park and get 2 wins from 2 and kick on from there. Similar to Airdrie and Ayr and Falkirk, everyone is wanting to get off to a good start, but there's only a certain amount of teams that can do that. But I think Scott Brown's had a really good summer transfer window. I think he's been able to assess Ayr. Last year when he came in, he will know exactly what he wants, and I think that the board's backed him in that regard to getting the players in that he wants to play that style of football. And then Airdrie, I was at St Johnstone last year and we played them in the cup, and to be honest, they comfortably beat us. I was really impressed with their style of play and how they played, and I think Rhys McCabe's a fantastic young manager who Airdrie will be praying that they can hold on to and be the one that takes them into the Premier League instead of a Premier League club possibly headhunting him. So I think there's so many good stories across the championship. Especially in the first couple of weeks. I'll fingers crossed that we can win tomorrow night, and then we can have a look and assess how Ayr and Airdrie got on. But like I said, the first couple of weeks, there's a lot of teams that will be wanting to be up there, and it'll be interesting to see after the sort of league settles in 4 or 5 weeks where everybody falls. On Saturday, it's Dunfermline against Falkirk. It's Hamilton travelling to Morton, and then managerless Raith Rovers at home to Partick Thistle. Some real cracking ties there, and that one, Raith Rovers at home to Partick Thistle, the teams that finished 2nd and 3rd last season. Well, I think you'd be a brave man if you try to predict this one, wouldn't you? Obviously, don't know all the ins and outs, but from an outsider looking in. For us as a club, we're probably delighted that Ian Murray's left. With how well they did last year, but you don't finish 2nd in the league if you're not a good team, and Thistle will obviously have been consistently up there in the championship the last couple of years. So I know that Chris Doolan will be wanting to make sure that they're up there again this year, and like I said, you don't want to be a lot of these games, there's not too much to separate the teams. There would be a good quality from both sets of teams. So, I think it's a really exciting time to be a sort of a fan or someone that's watching the league, because, there's so many good stories, so many close games. There's going to be loads and loads of twists and turns throughout the season. So, it's one that I'm looking forward to enjoying, but from a Livingston perspective, I hope it's pretty smooth sailing for us. You mentioned Ian Murray there losing his job at Raith Rovers. Were you surprised at that?
I was, I was surprised. Obviously, I don't follow them every week. I don't know all the ins and outs, but I think that they've done exceptionally well last year. I think they recruited really wisely in the summer, made some good bit of business. They obviously had a bit of a disappointing League Cup campaign and then lost at the weekend. But, like I said, I think this season in the Championship, there's going to be so many, peaks and troughs throughout the season. But nothing in football surprises me these days. So as much as I was slightly surprised or raised a few eyebrows to see it, there's not too much in football these days that does give me a surprise. So, that could re-galvanise them. They'll probably be feeling a bit hurt or a bit let down that, the manager takes the fall for the players' performances. So, they'll know that they have to up that. And, they don't have too much time to be feeling sorry for themselves with Thistle coming at the weekend. So that's another game that we'll be looking forward to watching and analysing and, knowing that we have to play those couple of teams in a few weeks' time.
Ryan, thank you very much indeed for joining us on the podcast. Best of luck for the rest of the season with Livingston. I'm sure we will talk to you, though, before the end of the season. My thanks also to David Weatherston, who gave us a lowdown on the Norwegian opposition for St Mirren and Kilmarnock in European action this evening. And thank you very much for listening as well. Remember, you can watch Ayr United against Airdrie on Sportscene on BBC Scotland from 7:30 on Friday. Sportscene will have all tonight's European action covered as well. And of course, we'll be here with the Scottish Football Podcast every day. So to be alerted when a new episode drops, subscribe on BBC Sounds and have your push notifications turned on in your phone. From us all, though, bye-bye.
For everything you need to know about your team this season, download the BBC Sport app. All the latest news, goal updates, stats and scores, and insight and analysis. Just select your club to get the biggest stories and best content at your fingertips. What a result. Download the BBC Sport app for everything you need to know about your team this season.